Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well and I hope that you're having a great day. I'm here to do an intuitive card reading to see what insights, messages, and guidance the universe has to share with us. And it's basically been coming in that we are seeds that have been planted, so not to get too worried or worked up if we're not seeing progress right away, because things could be happening, behind the scenes, below the surface, and it can be a lot. So to trust that the universe is working everything out in our favor. But let's take a look at the cards to see what other messaging the universe wants us to know. Okay. Okay, so Tangerine, be spontaneous and have fun. That's the thing. A lot of the times we can get so caught up in our mind that, and if you hear there squeaking, that's because Suki came in from the porch. But we can get so caught up in our mind and what we expect to be good, what we expect is the best outcome, and using all our logic and reasoning. And that's not inherently bad, but we can trip ourselves off when we get so rigid and inflexible, and it's like, no, we have to do this, and we get set in our ways and routines. So if we can add a little bit of spontaneity, to have some fun, just to see where it takes us, because it helps us lighten up. And it can be easier said than done when it feels like the world is coming down on you and like there's all this negativity that you have to have it all together and have all the answers. But hold on, Suki had been attacking my leg, but it's just like when we get so caught up in expectations and how we think things should be, we can cut ourselves off from genuine connection with life, with the divine. And it's through spontaneity, trusting our intuition, having fun, listening to a heart, that we can reconnect again. And the thing is, we don't have to take everything so seriously. That's not to say that seriousness has no place, that it doesn't, have a purpose, that it's not important, but having fun is also important. We don't need to take everything so seriously, because we've already been planted. Once the seed's been planted, it can grow. Yes, it'll still, need to be nurtured with like water and sun and nutrients and all that. But once it's been planted, it's like it's kind of out of our hand. We need to trust the process and trust the universe, the divine, to help take care of us. But yeah, Cyan, build your confidence. That's the thing. A lot of us also can struggle with our confidence, whether that be, personality, trauma, the people you're around, because I know my family can be a lot. And when they're constantly, scapegoating you and invalidating you and gaslighting you and belittling you and all these things, making you feel like you're such a burden and you're ruining everything, it's like it can be hard to be confident. But in spite of it all, know that there's a reason for you being here, that you matter, that you make a difference just by being yourself, and do things that help build you up instead of tear you down. There's plenty of tear downs in this society, and it honestly makes me sad, but we can't, change negativity with more negativity, if that makes sense. Because how they'll often say, fight fire with fire. And to an extent, I can see the rationale behind it, because, you can't, like, how's the best way to put it? Because if someone's, taking advantage of you and mistreating you, you can't, overcome it by, just letting it happen and doing nothing and staying silent, in the sense of, just taking it. But that doesn't mean you have to lash out and, if they're like yelling at you and screaming at you and doing all this like nastiness, that doesn't mean you need to stoop to their level. That doesn't mean you need to fight their fire with that kind of fire. You can choose to, walk away. You can choose to speak up for yourself and be like, no, that's not okay. Have the healthy boundaries. And, you don't have to fight fire with their fire, if that makes sense. But just build your confidence, because there are so many people who would love to know you. They would love to be able to have fun with you and to share precious moments with you, whether that be friends, co-workers, building a family together, like whatever it is. There are people out there who want to meet you. So build more confidence in yourself. You're not a burden. Even if there are some people who try to say it, like with some of those people, I think it's more that they can't handle you. They can't handle your, authenticity. They can't handle your light, your energy, and it riles them up on an unconscious level. And so instead of looking at why they're getting riled up and what that says about their internal world, they project it out onto the external and say, oh, you must be the problem. So just have confidence and know that you're going to be okay. You've been planted and you can flourish. Just trust. Trust. Yeah. Hematite, ground yourself. Yeah. A lot of us are very ungrounded. Like, looking at my family, they're so ungrounded. Like, the wind can blow and they're all riled up and feathers are ruffled and they're lashing out, and they just go and like get all into these downward spirals, and they just like keep feeding into it and getting more and more agitated and angry. And like, it still boggles my mind how they'll try to say that the cat is on their side and like that proves that they're right. And it's just like, if your argument truly was, worthwhile in the sense of like it has logic and reasoning and, hold on, hello. But like, that's the thing, like if you had like the logic and reasoning and like the truth backing up your argument, you wouldn't need to prove it by having like trying to coerce all these people onto your side and like attacking them and getting very emotional about it. That's not to say that our emotions can't have a place, because we all have them, we're all human. But if you think someone just having another opinion is a threat, and you can't have a conversation with them and listen to their side, and even if they're wrong, like, it doesn't... Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Suki's all hyped up and it's throwing me off, but if you can't handle a discussion, if someone having another opinion feels like a threat to you and you need to exterminate it, it's like, even if they're wrong, like, you can listen to them and be like, no, I know what's true, that's not right. Or, you can agree to disagree, because sometimes it's not about being right. Sometimes it's just like, that's just your opinion, that's just your preference. Sort of like how, me personally, I'm not interested in things like sporting events or concerts with all these large crowds and all this noise and commotion. Like, I am very much an introvert. I get a lot of energy by more quiet, low-key, intimate settings versus all this big commotions, and like it feels very chaotic and draining to me. But that doesn't mean I go, oh, anyone who likes that, they're wrong and that's bad. It's like, no, we each have our different preferences. And I know that extroverts tend to thrive off that kind of energy. So it's like, that's fine. That can be for them. But like, we really need to make sure we're grounded, that we're working on doing the inner work and having that internal, strong, stable foundation, so that when things come up, we're not, losing our minds like my family does and starting screaming and like trying to be like, no, see, cat, if you're still sleeping, that means you're on my side. See, she agrees with me. Like, that's the kind of arguments that they have. And they just keep screaming at each other and they just double and triple down. And it's like, guys, come on. Like, you're allowed to have your human experience, but can we take a chill pill? Can we breathe? Can we get grounded so we're not like losing our minds over every little thing? Like, They just keep arguing and arguing about the most trivial things, and it's just like, what does this even prove at the end of the day? Like, what do you get out of this? Like, okay, yes, I get that it can feel nice to be right, but is that really the most important thing? If you are getting so riled up that you're in screaming matches all the time, and you're getting all, like, heightened emotions and, like, because it can't be healthy to be always screaming and angry all the time. And so it's just like, wouldn't peace of mind and your well-being be more important than being right? Not that, you can't be, like, it's not to say that you can't be right, but, like, shouldn't that be more important? And the truth is the truth. Like, the truth and, like, your peace of mind and well-being, it seems more important to me. And if someone isn't wanting to hear it, like, you can accept that and move on. Like, you don't have to prove your point to everyone and be like, once everyone agrees with me, then it'll be okay. It's like, not everyone's gonna agree with you. Like, people have all these different opinions, and, like, they're at the different points, and, like, you're not gonna win that battle. You're not. And so, just try to ground yourself more. Try to breathe more, to process your emotions, to reflect, to potentially journal or meditate, or, do, like, cleanses with, like, water, whether that be in a shower or a bath, or, like, being out in the rain or out in, like, the ocean, or, sound baths, like, whatever it is to help ground you, to help get you more into, like, zen and calm and peace, because things are going to keep popping off. Like, there's going to be pressure from the external world, and if we are so easily riled up, it's going to be a really bumpy ride. And we can make that choice, but we can also make the choice to ground ourselves, We don't have to get so worked up over everything. And that's not to say it's bad, but yeah, frog purging, like, we need to purge the old, that which does not serve. Like, in the sense of my family, I feel like they would be having a much better time if they would let go, release, and purge their old ways, these games of having to prove that they're right, and having, like, convincing people to join their side means they're right, or, being the loudest means they're right. It's like, guys, come on. Do we really need to keep playing these games? Is that really that satisfying to you? Because you're literally in screaming matches all the time. I don't see how that's satisfying, but, to each their own, I guess. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. That's your choice to make. But it's just like, I just don't get it. And, like, to try to say this cat who just wants to sleep is on your side, and you scream, like, why are you dragging the cat into this? She doesn't care. Suki doesn't care about, like, whether they were doing work on the road, in the road, under the road. Like, that was one of the debates. One of the debates was, like, over wording, and it's like, oh no, the street wasn't there anymore. It's like, no, they tore off the asphalt, but the street's still there. Like, the street sign's still, like, they just kept going back and forth, and, like, the cat agrees with me. No, the cat agrees with me. Like, guys, come on. Let's let that go. Let's let those games go, and the nonsense and unnecessary conflict and chaos. Because as nice as it feels to be right, like, is that really what's most important if it's causing all this negativity and anger and just festering all that? Like, is that really what you want? And I guess if that's really what you want, that's your choice to make. But I don't know, it just doesn't seem worthwhile to me. We can purge it and let that go, because, yeah, like, let's find the inner strength to make choices that are in our best interests, that are, prioritizing our peace of mind and our well-being, because the outside world is going to get very loud. It's getting pretty loud right now. Like, all these people are debating over politics and these outcomes, and they're associating all these things, like, this is what it means, no, this is what it means. It's like, okay, That's not to say that it doesn't matter what like world leaders and all are doing, because it very much can impact us, because they can be creating the rules that we're supposed to be abiding by and all that, but do we need to be going to war with every single person over it? I don't know. I don't know, guys. But we have the inner strength to make it through this period. Like that's the thing with the seed. There's so much potential in it. It has the strength. Like if you look at plants, they can grow in the most interesting and unexpected of places. It can even grow out of concrete, because like there can be cracks and stuff, and it can grow out of that, or like gutters, or like these old boots that people leave. Like there's so many places that they can grow. There's this strength and resilience, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's not the ground, so it's not going to grow. It's like the universe, if there's a will, there's a way. It can surprise you. So you're a seed that's been planted as well. So don't underestimate yourself. You got this. Yeah, it just, dog devotion. It very much feels like we are getting more devoted to ourselves and our peace of mind and our well-being. And I guess, like, true joy and love and, harmony and balance, and just not getting so caught up in the games, because I know that it can be easier said than done when like all the people around you are doing it, but like we're recognizing that we don't have to be like everybody else. That even if other people are doing it, that doesn't mean it's necessarily the right thing. And it makes me think about, I don't remember the specific name of it, but it's a line experiment where they have a bunch of people who are, plants, like they're planted in the group. They're not like random people pulled off the street or anything that to, sign up for the experiment and all that. But, and again, it's kind of interesting that I say plants because of the whole seed component. But so they are, in the group trying to, see what other people will do. And so they have like 3 or 4 different lines, and one of them is obviously, I don't know if it was the shortest or like the middle, longest, whatever it is, the longest, whatever it is. So you're supposed to say which one it is. And all the people who are, inside the group and are saying the answer that the researchers want them to say, there's obviously the wrong one. There's one after another. It's like that one, that one, that one. And you can tell, like, it's blatantly obvious that it's wrong. And by the time it gets to, that person who's not part of the planted group, it's just like, okay, what are they going to do? Are they going to say the actual right answer, or are they going to go along with the group? And a lot of the time, they didn't want to stand out. They didn't want to be the outcast. They're just like, I don't know. And so they went along with the group's answer, even though it was obviously wrong. And so it feels like we're letting that go. And like that feels like it's tying into, having that confidence and strength and internal stable sound foundation, because we're just like, you know what? The truth is the truth. I can see it with my eyes. I can hear it with my ears. I can feel it. The energy is just like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's this one. It's this one that's, the shortest or the longest or whatever the question was. And so it's just like, it feels like we are stepping into our power and we're not paying so much attention to the external. We are getting devoted to ourselves, and it's just like, you know what? I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm not going to get so caught up in all the judgment and expectations and thoughts of other people in the external world. And that's not to say that other people don't matter, or that they might not have any like valid feedback, because sometimes we can get caught up in ourselves that we don't see things clearly because we're too close to the situation. But it's more that we are staying aligned with our truth and what we know to be true, and staying true to our energy and not showing up as someone we're not. That can be easier said than done. But we don't need to be someone we're not anymore. Yeah, we're just getting into that peace of feel and allow a deeper sense of peace to fill you now. This is the divine quality. Yeah, I'm looking around at the world and seeing so many people who do not seem to have any peace. They are constantly in the throes of arguments and anger and fear and stress and just like division and hatred and all this negativity. And it's just like, it's not like I don't get where people can be coming from, because like, yeah, there can be things to be scared of and keep in mind and be aware of and all this, but it's just like, do we need to make it our priority? Do we need to be having that be our sole focus where everything else is drowned out? It's just like, there can be multiple things that are true at the same time, If something is like going on in the wider external world, that doesn't mean we don't pay attention to it at all, but if it's like, what is it that we want to focus on? What is it that we want to grow? Because what we spend our time, energy, and attention on will grow. It will build momentum. More of it will come into our life. And so all these people, because they're getting caught up in the fear and the negativity and the anger and the hatred and division, all that, more and more of that is coming into their life. Like, if you look at my family, they're just getting in more and more fights, and they're just screaming more and complaining more, and it's just like, well, yeah, that's what you're making your focus. But if you make the focus peace, you'll get more of that. Like, that's what you're nurturing. That's what you're growing. And so just making more mindful decisions is going to be very, very important. Yeah. The universe really wants you to hear that. Hawk, pay attention. A powerful message is being communicated to you now. And like, other important messages are coming in. It's just whether or not we have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And like, with my family, like, everyone has their own journey. I'm not trying to like bash on them or like be like, I'm better, I'm more healed, I'm more enlightened. Like, I'm not coming from that kind of place. I'm just using my own personal experiences to try to illustrate what the messaging is coming in. But they are so caught up and getting so riled up with their emotions that they can't hear the messaging that's coming in, even if it would help them profusely. They're too caught up in wanting to be right and to fighting everyone else, to trying to coerce and like strong arm people into going onto their side so they can feel secure. And it's just like, peace of mind, happiness, like your well-being, like your internal foundation, that's all an inside job. Like, why are you trying to make everyone else make you feel okay? Because like, if you do that, if you're giving away all your power, you're not going to have a good time, because people aren't going to do what you want all the time. They have their own things going on. So why not focus on doing what you can and, like, not giving all this power and be like, if this person agrees with me, then I can relax, because then they know I'm right. It's like, okay, but what if they decide to disagree with you and they don't want to listen to you? Are you going to let that rob your peace? Like, there could be so much messaging coming in, but if you're not willing to listen, it's the whole, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah. Eagle, you are having all aspects of spiritual connection and soaring to reaching new heights. Yeah, that's the thing. When we can, ground ourselves, we can build our confidence, we can be spontaneous and have fun. When we can let go of the old ways that are holding us back or harming us, when we can tap into our inner strength and resilience and be open to the messaging that's coming in from the universe, like, we're going to be able to reach new heights. And it's like the messaging and imagery of trees are coming in. They're able to grow so tall because they have the strong root system. And that's the same thing with your internal foundation, having that strong, stable internal foundation where you can be at peace and you can weather the storm. If your internal foundation is not that strong and just like a little bit of a gust can knock you over, like my family, you're just going to keep having a hard time, and there's going to be all this emotional volatility, and you're going to lose it and just be like, and people can choose it if they want. I'm not judging them. We each have our own timing, but it will do you a world of good if you can work on the internal, if you can have that foundation inside of you, if you can prioritize your peace of mind and well-being and recognize that you don't need to get so fixated and obsessive over the external world. It's not to say that it doesn't have its place and it has no importance, but you are the one who gets to choose how you show up in this world. You're the one who gets to choose whether or not you're trying your best to live a life of integrity and to live a life of peace and love. You get to decide that. You get to decide. You can't control other people and external factors. People are going to choose what they choose. Even if you are trying so hard to help them learn, grow, and improve, if they're not ready, if they're not willing, it's not going to work. But if you work on yourself, and you have that root system, you're going to be able to reach higher and higher heights. Like, you're going to be able to soar. Yeah. Canary, step forward now and sing your song. There is power in finding your voice. That's the thing. The universe wants you to speak up, not necessarily to tell all the people who are refusing to listen, but just more for yourself and to step into your power and your authenticity and be like, no, these are my true colors. I'm going to shine. I'm not going to hold myself back. I'm not going to play small. I'm not going to settle for less. I'm not going to dim my light. I'm going to be who I am. And the right people will find me. And if this is not your cup of tea, okay. You do you, I'll do me. We don't have to get into all these, altercations. Yeah, enough. May you be exactly as you are. Like, that's the thing. You are enough. That's why the universe wants you to have more fun, to build your confidence, to recognize that you have the inner strength and devotion that, you should sing your song because you have a lot to offer the world. You have such a beautiful song to share with the world. And that doesn't mean you're necessarily literally singing. It could just be your beautiful light and energy. Aw, may you see the sublime in every day. That's the thing. Our lives are a gift. Not everyone wakes up. And yes, there can be hardships and suffering and, things that aren't to our preference yet, but where the seeds have been planted, there's so many seeds. Like, if we're going to go the little route, there's so many seeds that haven't been planted yet, but you were planted. You've been planted so you can grow, so you can eventually flourish and have all this beauty, like beautiful growth and thriving, and you can have these beautiful flowers. And yes, there can be rain. Yes, some days maybe sun scorchers, they're like super hot, but we need it all in order to grow, because down the metaphor of, being a seed planted, we need the rain to grow. We need the sun to grow. We need the darkness of the soil and its nutrients to grow. And that's the thing. Sometimes when we look at the external world, it's so dark and feels so smothering that it's just like, oh no, like we're in the dark, like all this horribleness. But it's like, you've been planted. And just because you can't see all the wonderful things coming together for you yet doesn't mean they're not happening. Doesn't mean that the universe isn't getting all this progress together for you. So trust the process and try to find more gratitude and joy and fun in your life. Yeah. Lightness. May the light lift you to the surface. That's the thing. We are carrying all this extra weight, all these extra baggage that we don't need to. We can lighten up. We can lighten up and Stop taking things so seriously. Like, again, it's not to say that there's not a place for being serious, but we don't have to take everything so seriously. We don't have to make everything so heavy. We can have spontaneous fun. Yeah. Butterfly spirit transformation is beautiful. That's the thing. We're in the metamorphosis right now. We're in the chrysalis where the seed that's been planted, and the process might be messy. It may take time, but in the end, it's going to be such a beautiful thing to have gone through. We're going to have so much that we've gained from it. And yeah, like that's the thing. It may take time. Everything has its own divine timing, but slow and steady wins the race. You don't need to rush. You don't need to rush. It's all going to work out in the end. Yeah, and sometimes it's because we're so caught up in our own mind that we just feel like we're spinning aimlessly. Indecisiveness, allowing your life to ramble around aimlessly with wheel. You can be spinning and spinning and spinning, but take some time to step away. Take some time for stillness, to pause, to breathe. Because it's all working out for you, even if it doesn't look like it. Yeah. And sometimes that indecision comes from like all the strong emotions around us or our own strong emotions. Fire, strong emotion, passion, passionate love or hate. And that's the thing. Love and hate are like two sides of the same coin. And like you get to choose how you show up in the world, where you're putting your focus. Do you really want to be putting your time, energy, and attention into love? Do you really want it to be hate? Do you want it to be fear? Like, what is it that you want more of in your life? What is it that you want to grow? And if you're not careful with the whole thing with playing with fire, yes, fire can be such a beautiful blessing. It brings warmth. It, helps us stay alive. It helps us cook our food. It brings light, all these incredible things. But if you're playing with fire and you're not respecting it, if you're taking it for granted, it can burn out of control and be savage and ruthless. Like, look at what happened in California. It's like it's very sad that so many people lost their homes, but it's just like you got to be mindful when you're messing with fire, And that's what strong emotions can do. They can be like like out of control wildfire. If you are so wrapped up in your emotions and things are getting so heated, you can have all these emotional eruptions and explosions, and it can do a lot of damage to your relationships. And it can break trust, and it can, like, things don't go back after you do these things. Like, it's not that you can't make amends, it's not that you can't patch things up, but it's like what happened about 2 years ago with my aunts after my grandma died. I feel like I probably mentioned this before, but so I went after the funeral to check on my mom after I had done my, responsibilities, because I, help pet sit and house sit and tutor for this family. And so I was picking up their boys from school, and I went to check on my mom afterwards to see how she was doing, because, she just buried her mom. And she was like telling me this story about and her plans for using this garden flag and how excited she was. And I was just listening. My aunts came at me and just started screaming at me viciously, and they were all high strung with emotions, and like they just kept screaming about how I didn't give up about my grandma, about how I was a vulture, and I was just after things. I'm like, I haven't done anything. All I did was show up to support my mom and listen to her plans about a garden flag. I haven't tried to take anything. Whereas, my siblings and my cousins were going through all the things, and they're like, oh, I want this, I want that. And it's like, I've literally done none of that. And so it's just like, they like were nonstop screaming, and they were hurling insults and attacks, and it was just an onslaught and a barrage, and it just was ruthless. And it's just like, if they had taken the time to step away, to pause, to breathe, just be like, hey, I'm feeling really emotional. I don't like how this is playing out. Can we do stuff like that? Like, I would have been fine with that. But they got so wrapped up in their heated emotions that, like, it can't go back to the way things used to be. They're trying to act like it's normal, like nothing happened, but there's been zero apologies. There's been zero accountability. They haven't owned up to a thing. And it's just like, yeah, I don't trust you anymore. Like, you started this whole smear campaign and you were being all aggressive and nasty and vicious to me when I hadn't done a thing to you. All I did was show up to support my mom. And it's just like, it's not to say that they're dead to me like my siblings have gone on, like, they're dead to me, they're horrible, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. But it's like, that's not how it, like, you treat other people. That's not acceptable behavior. And the fact that you haven't apologized to try to make amends and you're just trying to act like everything's normal, no, I'm not gonna, hate on you or resent you or be bitter. Like, I go and check on my aunt's dog because he's old and no one else is able to do it. And it's like, I'm not gonna hold what you did against your dog. I'm not gonna punish your dog for that. And so it's just like, yeah, like, I can be civil, I can be respectful, but I'm not gonna act like nothing happened. So it's just like, yeah, you gotta be careful with those strong emotions. And yeah, psychic ability to trust your intuition. That's the thing. Energy doesn't lie. If something feels off, if it feels like you shouldn't go somewhere, trust that. Trust your intuition. It's not going to lead you astray. But yeah, Bo, you are highly thought of. That's the thing. A lot of people can recognize your strength, your light, your love, your energy. Like, they can recognize, like, how amazing you are. And some of the people recognize it for what it are, and some people see it as a threat. So that could be why some people may be lashing out at you right now. But know that the universe thinks very highly of you as well. And that is all working out for your best interest. It's all working out for your highest good. Trust the timing. Remember to breathe. You are a seed that's been planted. Even if it doesn't look like things are happening, they are. I'm wishing you all a wonderful rest of your day. Please take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.